Should you or someone you love get thrown into a cage because you disobeyed government if you haven't left a victim? Hey guys, one of the reasons I promote things on my channel is because I use them. And I use them because I believe they benefit me. They help promote strength, endurance, and energy. Energy? I give you some freaking energy around here. A lot of nature's top fruits and vegetables that support a healthy heart, circulatory system, and high energy happen to be red. So come on, spit it out. Where do we get some of this red stuff? I drink Eternal Reds because it's got 8 specific foods that promotes energy. And these foods would be costly and time consuming to get in your typical diet. So click the link in the description and grab some energy. I want to real quickly touch on this last video that I put up on my High Impact Flicks channel. The name of the video is Jailed for 6 Years for Voting Without Permission from Government. And I made very clear that at the very beginning of the video that I'm against the BLM movement. Why? Because the BLM movement is a Marxist movement. Well, why am I against the Marxist movement? Because the Marxist movement is the same as the communist movement, is the same as the socialist movement. It's massive wealth redistribution. In other words, it's a massive nationwide theft program. More specifically, it's an extortion program. So where you have BLMers, at least the leaders, Patrisse Cullors and Hawk Newsom, and the people who say that they're for BLM, have already admitted, specifically Patrisse Cullors, that she's a trained Marxist. If you're a trained Marxist, then your ideology is bent on mass wealth redistribution, mass government extortion, and that is just criminal activity. And I can't abide that. That's an ideology that is clearly evil. On the other side of it, this woman who went to jail for 4 years, by the admission of the judge, went to jail because she illegally obtained the right to vote. That's it. So while she did have other crimes on her record, she was already on a 6-year probation for just doing some nasty things. She's a person who, by her own actions, showed that she was more than willing to not only engage in criminal behavior, but actually just live like a criminal. Okay. But the reason I had a problem with it, and guys, I love when there's pushback, because it makes you think. It's like, you know what? I really need to examine what I'm thinking here. Is what I'm thinking in accordance with individual liberty? Is what I'm thinking in accordance with the golden rule? Is what I'm thinking consistent with standing on principle? So I like it when people say, hey, you're like this right here. Alan Pardon says you're looking at this totally wrong. She did harm someone else by canceling their vote. I'll talk about that in a second. Aside from her criminality, which she probably should have lost her freedoms for, because if you engage in criminal activity and you create victims, you're somebody who's already proved by your actions you don't belong in society, so society has to deal with you somehow. There's got to be a punishment. What is that from Ecclesiastes 8:11? It says something like, when justice against an evil work is not executed quickly, therefore the hearts of the sons of men are fully set in them to do evil. In other words, if you don't take care of crime right away, that criminal intent and activity and motivation festering in your heart just continues to grow, because the criminals look around and go, wow, I can do this and get away with it. That's why in San Francisco, it's like, okay, we won't put you in prison as long as you don't steal $951 of products. But if you steal $950 worth of stuff, hey, we're not going to do anything to you. That's the criminal going, oh, so I can steal I don't know how much the shoes are going for these days, but I can steal 7 pairs of shoes, but I just can't steal that 8th and nothing's going to happen to me. When justice against an evil work or evil doers is not executed speedily, therefore the hearts of the sons of men is fully set in them to do good. It's like, whoa, I was going to commit some crime. Now I'm going to commit a whole bunch of crime because nothing's going to happen to me. Aside from that, the reason she went to jail is because she illegally voted, and she tricked the probation department into giving her the documents saying that she was off probation. She was already on a six-year probation. Okay. So now she's going to go to jail for 6 years because in the criminal activity that they had, crimes that she actually committed, she didn't go to jail. She was just on probation. I think that's wrong. If you commit a crime, and I mean by crime, I mean actually create a real material victim. If you commit that crime, you should do the time. But is voting illegally, in other words, voting when the government told you not to do it, is that really a crime? Who did you actually hurt? And some people make the argument, and I don't know, am I wrong? But some people make the argument like this right here, and this is Alan Pardon is not the only one. She did harm someone else by canceling their vote. Well, if your vote, and we're just going to keep it on the national stage here, okay? Because the voting that we're talking about is voting for the president of the United States. Let's just keep it like that. It makes it really, really clear. I mean, crystal clear. When you're voting, what are you doing? You are casting in your vote of support for a political, psychopathic, banker-controlled puppet to beat you with fewer stripes, basically. To treat you a little less like a slave, to steal a little bit less of my wealth. You don't mind the stealing. You don't mind the guy treating you like a slave. You don't mind the guy being a banker puppet. You just want to, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people say, well, my back was against the wall. I was painted in a corner, and I felt like I just had to, I don't like either of them, but I chose the lesser of two evils. Basically, the system is causing people to even admit that they chose evil. So if this woman actually did go to jail for illegally voting, and that illegal vote did take away a vote from somebody else, then she actually did. I mean, if you think about it, technically she did a righteous thing by her absorbing the evil activity in the evil system, voting for corruption. She took away the opportunity for some, if it's true that she took the opportunity away from somebody else, she took the opportunity away from somebody else to be involved in a corrupt, evil top to bottom system. I don't applaud. I don't think there's nothing right with this woman's ideology. If she's got, the BLM Marxist ideology, there's nothing right about her living as a criminal and create real victims. But how does voting when the government told you not to vote a crime? Who did it actually hurt? Now, this person right here, Yellow Snow Gaming, says, you are way off on this one. Voter fraud is why we have Brandon. Voter fraud. If the entire system is corrupt from top to bottom, and no matter who you vote for, every vote is a vote for them, the bankers, because they bankroll this whole thing. They have their lobbyists in Congress. They own Congress. They own the politicians, the state houses, the senators, the chief justices. That's why these justices don't have any problem making laws that violate individual rights. And they do it time and time and time again. If there wasn't corruption in politics, you wouldn't have hundreds or thousands of gun laws. You would have the chief justices, all the Supreme Court justices in every state house all across the country saying, we got the Second Amendment. That's enough. We don't need to add to this, because we know when we add laws, we take away freedoms and we steal more of people's wealth. So you can see by their actions that the judges, the lawyers, the politicians, the congressmen, the senators, the governors, the presidents of the United States, the vice presidents, all the way up, they're just puppets for the banking elite, serving one purpose: creating more laws that take away your freedom, take away more of your money. You can see that in their actions. So this idea of voter fraud, let's keep it on the scale of national election. Let's think about this. Voter fraud. The whole system is fraudulent anyway. What does it matter if there's fraud inside of fraud? You're talking about, oh, we don't want fraudulence in our fraud. Stop adding fraudulence to our fraud. The whole thing is fraudulent. If you really believe that voting does something positive, you really, I encourage you to take a second look at it. I just said, how is indiscriminate freedom and justice? Other people are saying stuff like, that's me, has some lefty feel-good shit takes lately. How is it lefty feel-good when you want just the acts of justice to come down every single time in the exact same place, and the place that you want it to come down is in the right place? I don't want to go to jail for 6 years. I don't want you to go to jail for 6 years if you did something the government told you not to do. By the way, did you know that there used to be a law that anybody who would free a slave, this is a law from the federal government, if anybody freed a slave, that person was to lose all their freedoms and be thrown into a cage themselves. That was the law. Did you know it's a law if you get in the way of or infringe, hamper an abortion in any way, you have broken the law. Even though you're trying to save a life with the slavery thing, you're trying to save a life. But, oh, it doesn't matter if you're trying to save a life. It doesn't matter if you're doing the righteous, noble, just, kind, compassionate, loving thing. You went against the authorities. This sets a precedent for, oh, we're going to punish you and take away 100% of your liberties, and we're going to do it to a BLMer. But that projection, and then all the people who are against BLM will go, good, she deserves to go to prison. Well, yeah, she deserves to go to prison for the crimes she committed, but she doesn't deserve to go to prison because she did something the government told her not to do, i.e. vote illegally or lied to the two reasons she went to jail from the admission of the judge is because she lied to the probation officer and got them to think that she wasn't on probation somehow and got them to say, okay, it's okay for you to vote when it wasn't because the government said not to. And this person says, Brian is a left shill. How can you be a left shill when you're for freedom? It's just accusation without substantiation is the height of ignorance. Everybody, we are the government. That is crazy. We are slavery. We are violence. And we are the initiation of violence and brutality on peaceful people who want to be left alone. That's what government is. Governo and mentis. To control or govern the mind. Mind control. We are government. How can you get a moral high ground then? Okay, you and I are stuck on a desert island. I promise I will never initiate unjust force and violence on you. I promise that the coconuts you gathered will be safe because I will never steal them because they don't belong to me, and I wouldn't want that done to myself. How is that being a lefty? How's that being a softy? And I also promise that if somebody tries to attack you or take your coconuts, that I will defend you to the death. I will defend your right to keep those coconuts and try to keep those people from stealing it and harming you. How is that being a softy? The only violence that is legitimate is the violence that you have to use in self-defense. And then Katie barred the door. So I just wanted to real quickly cover that. Again, knowledge doesn't begin and end with Brian Young. I make plenty of mistakes, but I'd like to see where it's legitimate, that it's moral, that it's just to throw somebody in prison for 6 years. Did she commit former crimes? Yes, but they're not saying they threw her in jail for that. She should have already been in jail, not on probation for the theft and all the victims that she created. But to throw somebody in jail for illegally voting and lying to the government, I got a serious problem with that, and it seems like any freedom lover would. This is why I hate the left versus right paradigm, guys, because it really blinds the minds of people and it keeps them from seeing the justice they've got to see to make a just society. With all the crazy stated plans of the Great Reset, the currency reset, and even the food reset, it's not a matter of if the store shelves are going to clear and there's a lack of food. The question is when. You need to get long-term storable food. It doesn't matter if it's from me or you just go to the store and you buy food. Just grab dry, storable food while you can. If you want to get it from me, you're going to support the channel and you're going to help yourself out because my link has a discount code embedded within it. You can check that out in the description below.